Fellas, we are here to do a tier list on all of the Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet competitive format. We're going to get right into it. So, we're just going to straight up, go in. All right. So, number one, Raichu. So, Raichu is kind of a really, weird Pokemon. So, it has a useful ability in Lightning Rod, but it's just kind of been, relegated to really bad, Pokemon just because, there's no use for it right now. As a electric type fake out, Iron Hands just beats it. It has a speed tier that's kind of cute, but it's just really not that great. That being said, probably a bit more utility than an F tier, right? Wigglytuff doesn't really have any useful tools. I mean, it has competitive, but not really relevant. Venomoth, no way. Jeez, Doug Trio really having a rough. Persian, fast fake out. That's pretty much it. No useful pivoting moves or anything, which would be the only reason to use it. Golduck, way better range setters. It's just not good. Now, Arcanine, obviously, our first good Pokemon on this list. Arcanine obviously has a lot of good tools. It's a good intimidator. It's a good, obviously has some good support moves. It runs extreme speed commonly in this format, more than it runs Snarl, but it does have a good move set. And it can run Assault Vest as well. Actually, after playing this format a lot, I would consider putting Arcanine in S tier because I do think it's a really splashable good Pokemon. I think people really disrespected this format, but comparatively to everything else, I'm going to keep it in really high A, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from there. Slowbro, not too much use for it. It does have Trick Room, Iron Defense, Body Press, so that automatically puts it a little bit higher than the other options. Cloyster, not really going to spend too much time on Pokemon that I don't think are very good. Gengar could potentially be a D tier. It's a ghost type. The problem is Flutter just completely outclasses it. That being said, Flutter Mane does have, just pretty much is everything better. Actually, there's no justification for Gengar. All right, this is, dude, I forgot this thing's name because it's kind of a Creepomon and I just don't remember. Oh, Hypno, yeah. Electrode ended up getting I actually need to show this. Electro ended up getting top cut or top day 2 at an event, but I'm pretty sure it was really garbage. I think it's one appearance on stream. It had Power Spot and it did no damage. It was super trash. So I don't think that Electrode is necessarily a good option. Yeah, all right, Andrew Johnson's team. Yeah, he had Scarf Electrode, so it could outspeed opposing Iron Bundle with Booster Energy, which in theory, sure, it's cute, but it literally did 0 damage. This thing's got some trash stats. So yeah, that's definitely gonna keep the Electrode down in the, I mean, I guess it gets D tier because at least outspeeds Bundle and it had one tournament of success, but yeah. Chansey too slow in the format. Fighting type Paldea Tauros is just kind of bad. I'd probably put, if I had to pick, Water Tauros would probably go in the C tier. Actually, I'd probably put down in D tier now just because of its typing not being super great. And then Fire type Paldean Tauros in the C tier because its typing is a little bit better for this format. And at least as Will-O-Wisp, Close Combat, that kind of deal, that's still fine. Gyarados kind of goes down in the C tier for me. It's not a terrible Pokemon, but the problem is Iron Bundle destroys it with Freeze Dry. You have Thunder Punch coming out from Iron Hands, which obviously just owns it as well. Even Wild Charge, of course. And just there's a lot of moves that can pressure it a bunch, so it's not the strongest, and its coverage isn't really that useful into most of the metagame. Ditto, unfortunately, is just really bad. I mean, it's probably D tier because at least it copies them on, but it's not super great. Vaporeon, not great. Jolteon, not great. Flareon, definitely not great. Dragonite. So Dragonite's a really interesting one. I think Dragonite's an A tier Pokemon. Ice Spinner is incredibly good. It clears Armorage and Indeedee Psychic terrain, so you can utilize that obviously. And it has a lot of good sets. Choice Band set's really strong. Terra Blast Flying set's really good. There's a lot of different ways you can utilize it, right? And if you actually look at standings, let's actually check Dragonite here. This is the most recent Knoxville Regionals. 13 out of 55 really isn't bad. That's a 20% rate basically. And it ended up getting top 4, top 16, top 16. So there's a lot of placements for it. So it's definitely not a bad Pokemon, right? And you can definitely take advantage of it. It also ended up winning an IC. Gavin Michaels ended up using it as well. If we go to the index over here, check out Oceania Regional Championships. There you go. Gavin Michaels ended up winning with an Ice Spinner, Terra Blast Flying, like I was talking about. So very good Pokemon, very well-rounded. So I just think in that regard, there's no reason you would rate it lower. Ampharos is definitely gonna be an F tier, really not doing much. Azumarill at least has a decent enough typing to put it in D tier and maybe decent enough damage, but it's not phenomenal by any means. I'm actually probably just gonna demote a lot of the Pokemon that haven't seen any play down because they're just not that useful, right? So we're gonna drop a lot of them. Unfortunately, if your favorites here, I apologize, but we're trying to be as objective with this as possible. Seeing Electrode over Gengar is kind of cringe, but also too objectively, that's probably the best performer over Gengar, and at least has a niche in this format. So I'd probably say Azu at least has a niche too. Jumpluff. So Jumpluff ended up getting, I believe, top 32 at Knoxville. It went 9-0 day one. So the team was kind of cute with it. Basically, like the Jumpluff just act as like a really strong supporter for Garchomp, Earthquakes, and stuff. It could also go for Rage Powder, Pollen Puff, like the standard options. You also had Tailwind, which was really cute. So I mean, it does have some cool tools, and I definitely think it's like at least a C tier Pokemon. Like its speed tier is actually really good. And you can do a lot with it in terms of its support moveset, so it definitely deserves that spot. Sunflora, no. Espeon, no. Umbreon, very questionable D. I think with Sun teams, if you can potentially find the right use for it, it could be good, but the problem is Flutter Mane is really dominant. Actually, yeah, Flutter Mane, Iron Hand's probably not. Murkrow. So Murkrow ended up getting second place in Knoxville Regionals, which was a pretty decent placement for it. I actually probably wouldn't have expected that if you had asked me before. I mean, it's all right. Like it ended up getting second. It has some tools and like it can enable certain teams. So like for sure, it's at least a B tier Pokemon. I don't think it's like it by any means justifiable A, but like it has tools that you can take advantage of to kind of push it further. Slowking, unfortunately, down there with its brother. Scizor. So Scizor, at least for me, is like D. At least you have Bullet Punch to snipe like Flutter Manes, right? So you could potentially get away with that. Not like super great utility besides that. I mean, you do get U-turn, but it's not like the most amazing. Heracross, no. Ursaring, no. If I'm just not talking about them, there's nothing notable about them. All right, Tyranitar. So Tyranitar for me is at least an A tier Pokemon. With the amount of Psy Spam being used, I think that it's disingenuous to say that Tyranitar is an A tier mon. I think it's an incredibly strong option. 8 out of like 55 teams, I believe, in top 64 or day 2. So that's a decent margin. The high placing ones definitely like didn't out like rank the like lower placing ones, but like it does really shut down in DDR merge, and in DDR merge is actually like really like not that uncommon. Like if you look at the most recent Perth regionals, which is like after some meta development because this tournament came after, you could see a decent amount of like Psy Spam, not here, but like if you look at their original field, there's a lot of Psy Spam in the field, and like Psy Spam's pretty much like relevant enough where like Tyranitar single-handedly invalidating those two Pokemon of Indeedee or Armarouge is like a nice enough niche to kind of propel it to the A tier. I could definitely see it like an argument for being high B, but I think A is like pretty like fair for it. Pelipper's a B tier only because even though like it did win OCIC, it literally only really works with like one kind of team with Palafin, so Pelipper's not really like a splashable Pokemon, whereas Tyranitar I could see fitting on multiple teams. So like Pelipper's not necessarily a bad choice on rain teams, it's just not like as splashable, so it's like automatically a bit lower, right? Gardevoir is done in the C tier for me. I've seen it used, like it got top 16, and like Trace and Telepathy is like cute, and it also has Imprison Trick Room, so like there's some uses for it. Obviously Flutter Mane being as popular as it is does make it a little bit difficult, but its typing does completely like it does make it really useful into like Iron Hands, for example. There's some things that get hit by fairy coverage, so fair enough, right? We can kind of keep it there. Masquerain, I wouldn't use it. Breloom kind of sucks right now, honestly. You just have no reason to use it as a fighting type over like a lot of the other options. For that reason, actually, we'll keep it there because at least like you have a utility of like Fast Spore, so we can leave that. Slacking's not good. Hariyama is really interesting. It's probably going to go in the C tier. It only really works on Trick Room teams at all, and like to say that is like also basically like in this format, there's been like no Hariyama placements, I'm pretty sure. But if you were to use it, it's on a Trick Room team. It does have a lot of good damage output. I definitely think it's a little bit of like it being underplayed as well on Trick Room teams because I think it could be a really strong option, especially for the Tyranitars and like some other options that are meant to counter it. But yeah. Sableye. So Sableye to me is like definitely a C tier Pokemon as well. It has a lot of cool, options with its prankster moves, and you can definitely take advantage of screens. You have like Encore Disable. There's a lot of cute things you can do with Sableye, and I definitely think it's like a little bit undervalued. Medicham, unfortunately not. Swallow, definitely not. Camerup. So Camerup's really funny. I think it plays top 64 in Knoxville. I don't think it's like really like because it appeared once. We'll give it the D tier, but like it's pretty bad, right? Like it only works on like Trick Room basically. Torkoal obviously like is a really like strong option. I wouldn't really put it above B though because Torkoal's very limited in what it can do. Obviously we saw a couple Torkoals like kind of uprise a little bit in Knoxville. The highest placing one being second place, right? But like Torkoal really only does a few things, if anything. So on Nick's team, right, it was Eruption as well, and on Aaron Clemens' team, it was Eruption. And then the nearest placing Torkoal we saw after that was John Who's with the, you know, supportive like kind of aspect of it, like overheat, fissure, that kind of deal, which you won't see too often. So for that reason, I don't think it's really worth like putting Torkoal much higher. Grumpig, no. Cacturne, no. Altaria, no. No, no, no. Oh my god, we got a lot of bad mons in a row. All right, finally, Salamence. So Salamence to me is like D tier. It's just really outclassed right now because of Iron Bundle and Fluttermane being everywhere. It's like definitely not like a F tier, like unusable one, but it's like really trash probably just because of like of everything popular. Same with Staraptor, unfortunately. Like Staraptor is just really outclassed at this point. Luxray, these are super outclassed. You know, Pachirisu is a really interesting one. I always feel like there's gonna be some team that has a niche for it. It's just like we haven't found the team yet because it's not even like a bad Pokemon in concept. It's just the problem is that like right now the metagame like has so much damage output that like I don't know if Pachirisu can really fare well into that. But on the rare chance like someone has like their Sajun moment, I'm just gonna leave the Pachirisu into that tier. Floatzel unfortunately really outclassed. Gastrodon has got to be like C tier for me. It can maybe fit on a few teams, but it's really really underpowered, and like you'd really prefer something with like stronger damage output. Actually, I'll probably keep that in D tier for that reason. It did win a like an event like early in the format, but like that was when like people were still figuring stuff out, and I really think that like Gastro is just kind of a sucky mon. I'd probably actually consider so like basically like these mons here are like the ones I would consider super usable, and then like as you get towards here, it kind of starts getting really mid. Um, Driftblim to me is like no, not even D tier. I don't think the mon's super great. Then you have yeah, you don't need that. Honchkrow, definitely no. Skuntank, no. So Bronzong is a really interesting one. I felt like Bronzong might have been a little more relevant if like it weren't for like everything that's popular in the metagame right now. But it's just it's like very outpaced, so there's no reason to use it. That being said, though, if we're putting like Electrode in this tier, I feel like we have to. No, honestly, like yeah, we put Bronzong above Electrode. I would rather have a Bronzong than Electrode on my team. Spiritomb. Spiritomb had like a little bit of play in like an online tournament or something where it like had like one cute performance, but it really wasn't that phenomenal. So to me, like it's not really something super worth investing in, if anything. Um, you could put it there just because it had like one placement, but its typing really isn't that great. I mean, Fluttermane, obviously, right? Garchomp. So Garchomp to me actually is like a B tier Pokemon. Like I know people really like there aren't that many Garchomps at all. It did have a little bit of an upsurge at Knoxville, right? There was one. And then there's another one for sure. Two. So there are two Garchomps, three Garchomps. And then if you go to the index here and you look at the Perth Regional Championships, actually, the second place team did have a Garchomp as well. So like there are Garchomps like popping up for sure, right? It's just that like you don't see them like super often. And you know, for that reason, right? Like there's like it doesn't deserve like higher than B, but like it has had some decent placements. So I think for that reason, at least there's deserves like a little bit of respect, right? It's really interesting actually because like in series one, you would have put Garchomp at like the S or the A tier, and like it actually really underperformed for where it was usually rated on tier lists. So I find that like really interesting. Hippowdon, not great, unfortunately. With the power creep now in this format, like there's a lot of like Pokemon that might have been viable in series one that are just like not good in series two with all the paradoxes. So yeah, Abomasnow is actually like a to me like a B tier Pokemon. I'm putting all the weather guys together because their viability really does seem really interconnected in terms of like how useful they are. So I definitely think that like it like they are in reasonable positions. Weavile is another one of those Pokemon like fast fake out, fast ice type, like maybe, but as soon as Chen Pao comes in the format, which is gonna be the next like rule set, it's just gonna kind of get worse. Magnezone unfortunately has really fallen off. I wouldn't even really consider it in the D tier of play because there's just like no reason to use it. Iron Hands is everywhere. Ground types, Great Tusk is everywhere. There's just too many things to pressure it. Gallade fallen off as well, unfortunately. I mean, yeah, there's like no reason to use it now. A lot of these Pokemon that like even had semblance of viability are just like gone. Rotom Heat to me, even though it hasn't had any like high placements, I do think it's at least a C tier mon. Like I could see, or like D tier mon. I could see like maybe being played in like some tournament and like doing well, but yeah. Um, Rotom Ice, no. Rotom Wash. So Rotom Wash to me is like, it's like dangling between like B and C tier. I'd probably put like high C. Um, it like has some uses, but with you know freeze dry bundle being everywhere, you know you have a couple of different options that can like really pressure it. It's not amazing, so I wouldn't really like particularly rate it as like a high tier option. I think B or higher is like something you can commonly see on a team, right? So Rotamo, probably not great. Lilligant. So Lilligant to me is actually like, it only pairs with Torkoal is the thing. But I actually think Lilligant's like really a decent Pokemon in general. So I'm going to put it kind of down here. Lilligant outspeeds, um, its Booster Energy. Yeah, Booster Energy Iron Bundle gets outsped by Lilligant, which is actually a really cool thing to do. And it's really interesting to see like the first Lilycole actually perform well. Nails ended up using his team with Lilycole, and I think it's cool. I think it's a mon that definitely like I could see more use on like Sun teams. So Basculin, no. Crocodile, no. Unfortunately, no Zoroark. Gothitelle. So Gothitelle to me is like probably like a low B as well. I probably like would say that like Gothitelle I think is really solid with its actually I think it's disingenuous. I think it's an A tier mon. The reason why is because like it's actually had a lot of high placing performances. It won it's already won 2 tournaments actually. Yeah, because it won with Palafin specifically, right? But like still. It won multiple tournaments already actually. If we look at obviously, Justin Tang's team, he won with Gothitelle, and then we look over here at Orlando, Wolf won again with Gothitelle. So it's overall like pretty decently strong. And like even though Gothitelle kind of had like underwhelming placements in the OCIC meta, it obviously isn't like fully indicative. Again, Gothitelle got another regional win as well. So it's actually a pretty good mon, right? It definitely deserves the A spot. Trapping is really strong, right? Sawsbuck, not really great. Amoonguss. So Amoonguss is like obviously S tier, dude. This thing's so splashable in so many teams. Like even though you don't see it so super like often all the time, like it's always like in a high placing top cut, right? So like over here. Actually, we could just literally check Amoonguss. Yeah, Amoonguss is 16, right? So that's like really high percentage of use. And also it's like it's never a bad Pokemon, right? Like it has a lot of good support options. Like it is literally one of the like key parts of maintaining like a balance team and making it good. And then on top of that too, if we were to check like the index, also it's like 1 as well. It won Orlando, it won Knoxville, and it also won OCIC. So like it's literally like spammed in so many tournaments. I think did it win Perth? It didn't win Perth, but like it got second. So it's still like a lot of like placements. These are all the regionals, by the way. This is a site that just has like all the regional results. Yeah, Mungus is like easy S tier. That one's so good. Electros, unfortunately, really bad. Haxorus, no. Hydreigon has to go in at least the like D tier for me. I can't put it in F because it did actually have a good performance in OCIC. And I could potentially see the use of like a dark dragon type. It does wall like size spam, for example, right? So in like very niche cases, I could see it, but normally you'd pick Roaring Moon over it. But yeah, at OCIC it ended up getting top 8, right? And it was actually a safety goggles Hydreigon with Snarl, Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, Tailwind, which was really interesting. Not something I really expected to see, but kind of cool. And then Volcarona. So Volcarona to me has like originally I probably would have put it in like B, but like it's really like not great now. I'd probably put in like maybe C it can get away with, and like Volcarona really has just been underwhelming. I mean, we can even see if there is one. I don't even know. I think there is one. Volcarona. Oh, there we go. There are 4 Volcarona. So like yeah, I think the tier that's in is fair, right? Alberto's team, I got second place at OCIC at least. It had like a few placements, right? So it's not like the most trash Pokemon out there, but like it's definitely not in its prime as it once was, right? It does get like Quiver Dance, set up. It does get like some support moves like Rage Powder, but it's definitely not as useful as it once was. Pavilion. So Pavilion actually to me is like definitely C tier as well. Like this one's actually kind of nasty as a support mon, like fast sleep powder, and then you also get friend guard, and then you can run compound eyes if you just want like accurate sleeps. It's like a better Butterfree basically, so it can be like really annoying for a lot of teams. It also gets like Tailwind, Pollen Puff, a lot of useful moves that can just be like annoying to opponents. Dragalge, definitely not. Florges is like D tier, so it actually ended up having a decent placement, but everyone always thinks Florges is like really good, and then they find out it's kind of trash. It basically they're like even though it has like high special defense and like high damage output, even if you give it like specs or something, it's really linear, and like I feel like I would want something like a faster Flutter Mane, or I'd want like a different fairy type that could at least do more than one roll. Florges is a little bit limited, so Go-Go, definitely not. Definitely not. Talonflame. So Talonflame is a really good support option, though I do think it's linear. It is common on a lot of these like Talon Tusk themes. It is the premier like priority Tailwind setter, so for that reason it has to go in A tier. I think that without that niche though, like it really wouldn't be A. It'd probably be more like a B tier. But you know, honestly, like Talonflame does provide enough support for a lot of these teams where it is like a good Pokemon, right? Like 14 out of 55, pretty good overall. So definitely not like a bad Pokemon at all, right? All right, Clawitzer, no. Klefki. All right, so Klefki, Alberto Lara used it to get second place. He also used it in Knoxville again, got top 16. I'd probably end up putting this thing in like the C tier again. Like it you know, it is the best screen setter actually, so I'd probably put it over like Sableye, but like I don't know, it's still Klefki, you know, but it does do like a little bit more, right? So it's kind of acceptable. I mean, you can see here it got like second at OCIC with the screen set. I mean, it's the only thing it does, but I mean, hey, like that's more than like a lot of these other prankster Pokemon got, right? So you at least can give it credit there. Um, Hawlucha, no. Noivern, no. Gudra, no. Sylveon. So Sylveon to me is at least like probably a C tier mon. I don't think it's like crazy. You know, honestly, like it could probably squeeze in B tier. It does have some cool stuff like Hyper Voice Throat Spray isn't bad. It could fit on certain teams as like a bulky fairy. It could trap stuff. Like it did actually do pretty decent. Like all things considered in Orlando, like it got top 4, and then it also got top 8, and then over in OCIC. See if there are any Sylveon. There's one in top 8 again. So like it's gotten some, you know, high placements. It's not like the craziest most meta Pokemon, but like it exists. So for that reason, like you can't really knock it like too hard, you know. Specifically too here, you know, Knoxville. Whereas I think there is a Sylveon somewhere here. I don't know where it is. I think it's in yeah, there you go. Sylveon, Zachary Thornburg's team. So like it is like relevant enough where you can like have Sylveon kind of in there. Salazzle. So Salazzle to me is definitely like I'd probably put in like D tier. It can be used on like maybe 1 or 2 teams. It's not like the most amazing thing, but like fast fake out, fire poison, not the worst. A Ranguru. So Ranguru to me is also like probably in the D tier. It like has some uses. You know, Instruct Trick Room is really cute. It's just about finding the right team to do it. Kamala, not amazing. Serena, probably not great. Simeon, no. Mimikyu. So Mimikyu is a really cool one. I actually used it in the most recent like Knoxville regionals for at least myself. I do think Mimikyu is good. It has some cool uses. I'd probably put it in high B tier. I do think its ability to snipe Flutter Mane and like Life Orb does do a lot of damage, which is really nice. So like I would definitely consider it like a higher tier option of like at least a B. It like has a lot of splashable uses. I mean, in terms of its performances, and this might be a little bit biased, I can definitely admit that. Like, let's see where Mimikyu is on this list. Was I the only Mimikyu? No way. Okay, no, there were 3. There were 3 Mimikyu. I was the highest placing one, and then there were 2 Mimikyus that kind of perform worse, right? Mimikyu on mine was like Life Orb, and then the other 2 Life Orb again. And then I believe this one was probably okay. This one was like a support set, but you'd probably want to go with the Life Orb set for the most success. Also, too, if you were to check out like the other events, we can even see if there's any Mimikyus around. 2 Mimikyus, so like sneaks in there, you know, like it's definitely not bad. It's like shown it has like obviously some roles on like other teams as well. It has access to Curse, which is kind of a cute option, but it does do a lot of damage. I definitely think it is like a really solid Pokemon that's very underrated. Obviously, it's opinion, anyways, for the tier list, so we'll go with that. Oricorio, no. Young Goose, no. That's not Young Goose. That's Gumshoes, I think. Lycanroc. So Lycanroc to me is at least like probably in the C tier. Fast Rock Slide spam. It's not as bad as like some of the other D tier mons, so like for that reason at least gets up there. Not the other Lycanrocs. Mudzill unfortunately is bad. No, 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 no. Wow, this is really rough. Dreadnought, by the way, Dreadnought, like I'll put it in D, but like it got really demoted this series. It's really struggling to like do anything. Corviknight. So Corviknight to me is like a C tier. It does have some cool options, all right? Body Press, Brave Bird, Tailwind, Bulk Up, and then you also have some stuff. Problem is, like, there hasn't really been a team that's like found its proper potential, I feel like, besides Alberto's team. And like even that one I feel like could have been expanded on a bit more, like on the Corviknight. So to me it's probably like a C tier mon. I could see it definitely being B with like the right team. You have Toxtricity here, this. Colossal, not super amazing. Indeedee. So Indeedee to me is like a really premier like support redirector. I'd probably actually put in the A tier. I think it's like probably the best redirector besides Amoonguss, and also too setting psychic terrain and being the only terrain setter in this format's really nice. So that is a really cool aspect you can take advantage of. Pincurchin, unfortunately, banished. Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is really struggling, man. I mean, it had one good performance and won like a big like online tournament. But again, like it's kind of relegated to where the pranksters are. Probably the worst out of the bunch, to be honest. But you know, at least it's there, right? In that case, then I probably put Corviknight over these guys at least because you know Corviknight actually had like that second place OCSC. Um, so for that reason, I think it kind of squeezes in a little bit higher. I probably put Gardevoir over Gyarados, and then I put like Hariyama below Gardevoir, and then Tauros below. Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. I probably have a Villian over these guys as well. Yep. And then here we can go down Flapple. No. Hatterene. So Hatterene's a really interesting one. It's B tier because like for it has to be on a Trick Room team, so that automatically like keeps it from being like super good. That being said though, like it does work really well on Trick Room teams and does put on a lot of pressure. I definitely think it's a strong Pokemon. It's just not like it only works on like really one kind of team, right? So that gives it a lot less flexibility than you normally would see. So for that reason, it has to like go down a little bit. I'm actually moving it a little bit in proportion to how often you'd probably see it. Probably Lilligant down here. Sylveon's probably here. Then we could put a Bomba there. All right. We're gonna put that there. Okay. And then over here, no Stunjorner. So Stunjorner actually had some decent placements, so it has to go in the C tier for me. It does have like Power Spot, which is like kind of cute, but it's not like the most amazing thing either, you know. So it probably just goes down in like that general area. Wasn't like super impressed by it, but like it does boost up stuff and damage, right? Dragapult for me has got to be like D tier. I feel like this mon actually has potential. It's just like no one's figured out how to use it. Meowscarada is also in like the C tier. It mostly because like it's not a bad Pokemon, but it's like very niche heavy, and it only works on like really one specific kind of build right now, which is Dondozo. It ended up obviously at OCIC on Zachary Thornburg's team. It was, you know, there you go, there. It was Meowscarada, and then also Knoxville, same exact team, had a Meowscarada as well, right? So, cute little niche there found for the Mon. It also is like just pretty decent Mon in general. It was all the way up in like probably like S or A in Series 1. Skeleturge, my boy, has fallen off real hard. If we're gonna put Camera up here, we can't disrespect them too hard. Honestly, Camera up doesn't. We're just gonna get rid of the Mons that don't deserve the spot here. Spiritomb probably gone. Electrode has been demoted. Like D tier has to be like Mons that are at least like semi-usable, you know. And I feel like we're like if we keep some of those, it's very disingenuous to that, right? Probably not Weavile. Like the D tier is very specific, so it's like it have to be like actually. I mean, I guess Camera up technically counts because like it had one placement and like it appeared on stream at least. So I guess Spiritomb too. All right, we can leave it. All right, Quaquaval gone unfortunately from the metagame. Oinkalone also gone. The Dunsparce gone. Spidop's gone. Oh geez, yeah, we got a lot of rough ones here. Houndstone actually did have a decent placement. Also, too, it's probably like not the worst spawn. You do have fast like last respects, so like you could at least put it in the D tier. For Espathra, because of the Sandy Shocks gimmick that it has, it goes in at least C tier because Espathra Sandy Shocks is actually really annoying. Furgiraffe has to go down to D tier. It does have a cool ability, but like also just kind of very like meh Pokemon, so it's definitely not like a super phenomenal choice, I'd say. Wugtrio, really bad. Dondozo. So Dondozo I would have originally probably put in S tier, like had I made this list earlier, but it's really like kind of fallen off in my opinion. Or like not fallen off. Like it's still good, but like it's definitely not like S tier material, you know? It's like solid. I'll put Dondozo and Tatsugiri there. Where is the Tatsugiri? I know it's somewhere here. Oh, there we go. All right, so Tatsugiri is going to go next to its guy Dondozo as well. All right, and then Veluza, obviously not good. Palafin. Palafin to me, honestly, is an S tier mon. Like, you can't tell me this thing's not an S tier mon. All right, let me just take you through this, okay? Wins in Knoxville. Perth, it gets... Actually, it only gets top 8, so not super impressive. OCIC, it wins. Okay. For Knoxville as well, it also got top 4. Forgot to mention that. Destroys Dondozo. Wins Orlando. So it's one, 2, 3 of the majors so far. Which is crazy. So like it has a 3 out of 5 rate of winning majors right now. Not to mention, it also did really well in San Diego, even in Series 1, right? So it's just a good Pokemon. It's incredibly strong. Jet Punch, Wave Crash, all that stuff just goes really nuts. Scovillain, unfortunately, not really it, man. Bellabolt at least gets a D tier. I think it did get like top 16. At Bokum, that might be a stretch. It got top 32, but it's 10-4 record, so we'll at least give it that. It is usable, quote unquote. Reveroom. Actually, this mon can be kind of annoying on the right teams, like with the shed tail stuff. So I got to give it at least a D tier. Like you could shed tail maybe into something. Mousehold. So Mousehold to me is actually like probably an A tier Pokemon. I actually think his Pokemon is really good. Not only the Friend Guard set, but also you have the the other set available, which is the Beat Up set next to Annihilate, which can enable it. I think that's pretty cool. It actually is like some really cool use out of it. And I think you can get a lot of utility out of it. So Titan. Probably not great. Baxcalibur. So Baxcalibur did really well at OCIC and it won, but I'd probably keep it in like B tier, maybe even C tier. It only works in like very specific comps. So probably put B because it's at least a decent enough Pokemon, right? Probably put next to Garchomp, the two pseudos next to each other. It's all right. It did win in it did win IC, but it was a very specific use on the team, so it's probably not something you'd see as super splashable. Palmon has really taken a fall from its like former grace. I'd probably put it like down towards bottom of B or maybe like C. It has the revival blessing niche, but it only works on Dondozo teams, and like even that like is falling off as Dondozo teams are evolving. Cyclizar, probably D tier, you at least get fast shed tail, but it's not really that great. Kilowattrel, fallen off unfortunately. Squawkabilly, no. This Flamigo has to go in at least a C tier. It did have like some decent performances this regional because you can do the co-star stuff with Dondozo. That being said, though, I wouldn't exactly take that as like a crazy like meta changing team. It's just good enough where it can work on a specific kind of team. Cloth, no. Garganico. So Garganico was like probably like A tier really early on, but as time has gone on, it's really fallen off. I'd probably put it down in like the B tier, maybe like even lower, honestly. Like it's bottom of B tier if it's in B tier. Maybe I'll put Palmet a little bit lower, but like yeah, no. Gark has like not been having the best time. And it only really works on like one or two specific compositions. It's really not that impressive of a Pokemon anymore. It's really fallen off. Glamora for me, probably like low B. It's like a decent enough Pokemon. It like has actually some high placements whenever it does well, but overall Glamora is not like the most like crazy good Pokemon. Not super great, not super great, not super great. Oh, Goldango, that is very good. Goldango's probably A tier. It's actually really good on like these kind of balanced compositions going around right now. It's also like a very decent. I'd actually probably put a DD towards the top of A, by the way. The more I think about it. Goldango is obviously very, very strong. It's a very splashable Pokemon. You could do nasty plot sets. There's a lot you can do with it to make it like really good, and I think that it's a Pokemon that you definitely have to respect. All right, we haven't gotten to the paradoxes yet. When we get to paradoxes, it's gonna be a little crazy. Tinkaton's not amazing. Armoroge. So Armoroge is really interesting. I'd probably put Armoroge actually in the A tier as well. I'll put it next to DD, I guess. Very appropriate. They're very, very good. I don't think they're like top S tier, but they're like so close. They're really, really close. So definitely really solid. Pokemon overall. Cerulege to me is definitely like a low B, maybe. Maybe high C, probably low B. It does get like Bitter Blade, it does get Shadow Sneak, which is nice in the Fluttermane. I almost said Mimikyu for some reason. You do get a decent enough coverage with it, which is kind of cute, but obviously the Pokemon is a little bit underwhelming if it doesn't get set up, and also too it can be like really caught out of position. So Toedscruel unfortunately has really fallen into obscurity. Kingambit. So Kingambit's a really good Pokemon in my opinion. It's probably deserving of the A tier, definitely like lower A tier, but it's a good Pokemon. Its stats are really good, and like it beats Fluttermane, especially in this format, which is really nice. It can wall Iron Bundle as well, which can give it like a hard time. Roaring Moon has a lot of trouble breaking it. There are a lot of Pokemon that have trouble breaking it. The popularity of Iron Hands definitely is like a challenge for it, but if it's on the right composition, it's really good. Clodsire, not great. Annihilate. So Annihilate is actually pretty good. I'll probably put it next to Mousehold only because it's very like thematically appropriate. I think putting Kingambit lower than like them is probably a little bit messed up. Mouseape is like decent. Annihilate's also like it only works with pretty much like Mouseape, but it does have one other use, Scarf Final Gambit, which did actually get second in a regional as well. So for that reason, I think it should at least be bottom of A. Next to Mousehold seems pretty reasonable. you know, Defiant. It can be fast with Scarf if need be, Final Gambit. And then also you have the, you know, beat up set with Mousehold, which is very like polarizing as well into certain matchups. Sandy Shocks, since we have a Spathra in the C tier, I'll probably put Sandy Shocks in C tier. Very similar boat. I probably put them actually at the top of C tier. I think they're one of the better gimmicks anyways, in the C tiers. So for that reason, they can be top. But yeah, I definitely think a Spathra or Sandy Shocks like has some, at least you can do some stuff with it. Screamtail to me is like a B tier mon. I think on the like it's definitely not like the best Pokemon, but like on the right teams, it's really like nasty. And like booster energy, like Encore disables like pretty broken, right? That can be really good in certain teams. Fluttermane, this thing is like an easy S. I think it's just such a splashable mon. And it's really, really good on a lot of teams, right? So you can really take advantage of its stats. And like even if you look at like its usage, right? Like let's just say I pull up Knoxville, right? And I do Fluttermane. 32 out of 55. That percentage usage is crazy. That's like so much usage for Fluttermane. So for that reason, right? Like it basically automatically has to be like that high. It's just like too good, you know? And like even if we go to another event, right? Let's go to OCIC. Let's check Fluttermane. Fluttermane, like super high placement out of the top 32. That's like a lot, you know? It's over half, it's like about half the field. So it's a lot. Bokum, Fluttermane, again, 29. Like this is so much usage for Flutter. Like it has to be in the S tier, right? Like probably comparable. Honestly, it's probably above both of these mons just because of how splashable it is. Slitherwing, unfortunately, I love Slitherwing. My favorite design. This thing's got to go to the D tier. Like I can't put it down in F. I'll feel bad. But like, yeah, no, it's not great. Roaring Mid. You know, I call it Roaring Mid. I originally thought it was really like kind of mid. Well, obviously. It actually has shown me it's like a really decent Pokemon. I'd probably put an A. I'd probably put it around like the Arcanine and Dragonite area. I think it's actually really solid and it has like a lot of like use on like a lot of these balance cores. It's a cool Pokemon. It's like Larry Salamence but better. So of course, Iron Treads is definitely not like a lower than C in my opinion. I actually think it has some potential. On Showdown, I keep playing versus this guy who just says Iron Treads, and like I don't know, like the mon, like it might not be like amazing, but like it's definitely not like trash, and like I think it's probably like C tier, like it's not the worst, you know. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I also wouldn't say it's like the, you know, like the worst either. So or I'll probably go a bit lower than these guys though, because I think rating it higher is like kind of disingenuous. Let's put it here. Grim actually has more placements. Yeah, like Iron Trends has got to go like kind of like on the bottom half because like it hasn't really had too many placements, but it's definitely not like worse than like C in my opinion. Iron Moth. Iron Moth gets like a B tier placement. It does work booster energy stuff with Flutter. That's pretty much it. Doesn't really do much besides that. Iron Hands. So Iron Hands to me is like it's either S or it's, you know, it's A, but it does have a lot of high placements. If we look over here, Iron Hands 25. That's a lot out of like 55, right? That's like almost half. And then you look at Oceania, right? It ends up winning, of course, and it won Knoxville as well. So it has a lot of high placements, right? Iron Hands as well at OCIC, you know, that's 1/3. It's a pretty good percentage of teams that have Iron Hands. So for that reason, I think Iron Hands definitely deserves like the S tier placement. Iron Jugulus is to me is like a low B tier Pokemon. Again, like one of those mons that capitalize off of booster energy for a specific purpose, but nothing like super crazy. Iron Thorns, unfortunately, my boy, I gotta put you down in the D tier. Just really bad design Pokemon. Iron Bundle. So Iron Bundle to me is also like S tier. I think it's just like a super, super strong like option. It's fast Icy Wind. Really capitalizes off of booster energy. Really crazy good speed tier. Even though Iron Bundle hasn't exactly like won or like gotten into like super top placements like a Nox, it's 31 out of like the top 55 teams, right? Like this is still really useful, you know, and it shows that like the team, like the mon definitely has merit. Look at Orlando, Iron Bundle. Oh, sorry, Iron Bundle. 12 out of 32. OCIC, Iron Bundle. Again, it's, you know, a lot of teams, like 17, that's over half. It's just a good Pokemon, right? So you can't like ignore that it's like really solid. Fast Icy Wind, Freeze Dry, Hydro Pump, like it's good. Iron Valiant to me, D tier, maybe C. I could see it having a little bit more viability just because of its typing and coverage. Clodsire, no. Great Tusk is actually like a really solid A tier. I think it's one of the better Paradox mons as well. Besides like Bundle, Flutter, like Hands, it's super good. It works on a lot of teams and it can put on a lot of pressure. I definitely see like its usefulness, right? Like it can definitely do a lot. So for me, I'd probably like definitely say that's good. I'd probably put Gothitelle actually a little bit lower, by the way, than like some of these Pokemon, because like Gothitelle has been working on like some teams really well, but like it's definitely not like all teams, right? So I'd probably put it above King Gambit. Um, Brute Bonnet is like definitely a solid like B tier Pokemon. Very like it can maybe do some stuff, but like it's definitely not as strong as like the other options. And then that's it because we don't have the runes yet. When we have our Series 3 tier list, then we can change things around. But yeah, this would be my full list I think for the current format. Our S tiers: Flutter, Palafin, Iron Hands, Iron Bundle, Mungus. Obviously, they're just all really solid options. And DD Armor is super good, very spammable on a lot of teams. Arcanine, Grey Tusk, all these options here. Then you have your B tiers and then C's. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to make it as descriptive as possible. I used to actually skip over sometimes like the lower tiers because like it was a little bit annoying to like go through some of the really bad mons, but I just kind of sped through them this time, so it made it easy anyways. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed the content, please be sure to check out the Patreon down below. Support my content where I post a lot of bonus things, my teams I use at tournaments, all that stuff. Also make sure to check out the Discord where you guys can obviously talk to other people and like hang out. We have a really cool Discord. Thank you guys so much for all the support. I incredibly appreciate it. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.